7th is Craig Walters, 8th is Carl Lukman, 9th is Alan Brown, 10th is Philip McMahon, 11th Daniel Wareham, 12th Nick Kent, 13th position is Van Herwigen, and 14th position returning Mark Brown, 15th position Fraser Garrity, 16th Ryan Dudley, 17th Elliot James, 18th position is David Smith, and 19th position JT Johnson. Bring up the rear, Stuart Gibbons.
So as we can hear, all the cars revving their engine. The lights have just come on now, Rob. So we've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The lights are out and off we go. And I think we had a little bit of a jump start then from Nick Clibbins.
I think so, and welcome to viewers as well. We've gone live on T8 TV, and we're going down the first corner of Paddock Hill, and on the outside Nick Clibbins in the Excite car with John Brown on the inside and the little Tango machine. 2 and 2 they go, and then I see the Ignium car around the outside as well. He's making it around, I think that's Dan Mould, and to the inside, bit of a door slam there, and still the Insignia car takes the Ignium car into the wall, coming down to out of Druids into Graham Hill, and there's a that's a big early bit of damage for Dan Mould, and there's a red car there, red Hyundai on the go, but we can see Neil Stevenson in the pits. If we go back to live, we can see where that takes us, come up to Hawthorne Hill, and we can still see that John Brown is in the lead, but he's hunted closely by Callum Garden with Nick Clibbins in third position, and he's hunted himself by Craig Walters.
Yeah, as you said, Craig, last year's champion. Or last season's champion, should I say. I suppose he's hoping to defend his title well and you know get on the score sheet after the first round and finish quite high up.
Well, there's a bit of side by side. I think that's with McMahon and Dudley maybe at the back, and we can see there's a bit of a switch here going on between Derek Crowthers on Craig Walters and just through the left to bring you back onto the penultimate corner, and we're looking at Callum Garden at the front. He's stalking the leader, John Brown, and he will maybe a little bit too far away to line himself up out of the last corner clearways, but he's just hunting himself now down to the inside line of the heavily banked start-finish straights. We can go on board now with Callum Garden, just gets it into Paddock Hill. That's a bit of a shallow entry, forces a wide exit, but he's got the speed still, and he's not gone for a dive, but there's a little bit on the brakes from John, but he's yielded the corner. And no further changes behind, I don't think. And I don't think anyone's off so much. Neil Stevenson's called it a day after lap 1. And I think there's no one else spun just yet. So, on board now with Reed Garden as he tucks into corner that's escaped me, 30s. How can I forget that? He's just stuck behind John Brown now. I think if we go to the next pack along, and we can see Walters, Crowther and Lukman all sort of getting quite busy with each other, and a little bit farther away actually. The fight is very much between the first, second position at the moment, but there's a good old pack still formed together after the first lap, and this is cracking racing back with Tanso.
And just another close battle there was Mark Brown. Well, I think it's just Dan's making his way back through the field after his first lap incident. And then we've also got Nick Kent, just gained a few positions there. So obviously he's passed Fraser Garrity, and just up in front of him we've got Daniel Wareham
in the yellow Honda with the Danish car, fantastic livery on. He's out of clearways now, and then he's just a little bit of a pack in front of him with Dudley, Brown and McMahon. We've seen Xander Van Herwigen go to the pits. I think he's had a bit of an accident, and so we go back to 13th position. Dan Mould's doing the back to front he didn't want to do with his early indiscretion. I think that was with Neil Stevenson. As Neil Stevenson went back to the pits, it makes sense that he was involved. And there we go, the Insignia machine, change livery from Dan we saw in the last rounds. And just looking back, it looks like Elliot James is getting past JT Johnson. And the Tanso machine, we go, the little HKS Honda. So nice to see different TCRs, but JT's just holding the inside, so go up to 30s. Is he going to get the job done around the outside? Yep. Elliot's now got space to hopefully pull away into Hawthorne Hill.
But we know from these new TCRs, the Audi's got a slight advantage on the top speed, so He might just be able to sneak back up the inside there, but no, he's not.
A bit of an early yield from JT. We're still looking at John Brown and Callum Garden for the first couple of positions, and I think they've been joined. Yes, I have been joined by Nick Clibbins now, and that's a new paint job to me from Nick. So I think he's maybe got a new sponsor in that Simtech racing machine.
Yep,
and you can see the back sides. The back brakes heavily lit up. We just on these fixed setups, people put the brake bus all the way to the back to get a bit of rotation on these cars. And I think Garton's playing with John like a little cat and mouse.
And that's
a lot of these
new livery from Cal as well, isn't it, this year?
Yep, I think that's another new team from him. I think that's all born out of the Next Gen League. As we see Craig Waters go a little bit wide out of Druids. And that's just taken the edge of his entry and put him right back into Derek Crowther. And Derek's quite often near Alan Brown actually, and that's likewise. He's going a couple of cars behind him now. They're all sort of line astern at the minute. There we go, Al Brown, another new paint job for Al.
But like you said, with having the other two manufacturers now, it just makes the series feel more alive, doesn't it?
Why? Especially as they're all a little bit different. As you said, one's got a little bit more top end, one's not amazing through the corners, and I think the Hyundai is sort of a bit of the all-rounder at the moment, isn't it? Just looking back, and Reed Garden's still stalking John Brown. There's no change there. So this is round 1 of season 3 of Tanso Racing Group's TCR Championship, and we're looking at Brands Hatch, 20-minute races, 2 times 20-minute races, the second race of which is inverted with the top 12. So, as you see, Callum Reed Garden again, I think he is lifting a little bit, because there was they're quite, well, they're about a second or so below their pace for practice, I think. So maybe they're just sort of playing a little bit. And you can see there's just Nick Clibbins just sitting there waiting for something to happen, maybe. And there's not a lot of gaining from Craig Waters, which I'm pretty surprised at. But he has got Derek Crowther just looking over his shoulder a little bit.
Yep. And
just trying to see.
The top 6 there formed themselves into 2 nice little packs of 3. So yeah, I think the 4th, 5th and 6th, they'll be hoping to try and catch up 1st, 2nd and 3rd, just in case there is any contact and they can gain a couple of extra positions that way.
I think that's just a little bit of bump drafting maybe going on there. Dan Moldwatch, she's up to 10th. She's got past Fraser and Nick Kent. And maybe a little bit of team orders there from Fraser, but it's Dan. He's quite quick. He will get past Fraser quite easily, I should imagine. But we can see the 2 Hondas. And Daniel Wareham in the safety just shows his nose a little bit to Al Brown. And yeah, he's love a bit of VTEC around Brands Hatch. That's been done quite a few times before, isn't it?
But of course, the battling here from Daniel and Ryan has just allowed Dan to just sneak up the inside there and go around the outside now on the final corner.
Bit of a Honda train from 8th position all the way down to 11th, but that's another position gain for Dan Mould. His next victim's just up the road, and we can see him now on the screen. Ryan Dudley, who we saw have a couple of good rounds last season. It's in the blue and white liveried Honda. It's a very familiar colour scheme in the TCR world. And when Daniel just tries to have Ryan tries to have another little look at Dan Mould. And Daniel just had to get out of the way a little bit of that. Out of Druids, down to Graham Hill. There's a lot of movement at the moment. Apart from Dan, there's not really a lot of movement. Dan's flashing his lights, because 2.5 seconds up the road is Al Brown. And he's got easily enough time to get hold of him. I think he's got half the race left, I think.
Yeah, we're only 9 minutes into the race now.
I always sell the little Hyundai from the end on the radiator.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the better looking of the 3. I think I prefer like the saloon car look with the actual rear boot hatch instead of the more. Then again, I know the Audi's a saloon, but it's only a small one, isn't it?
I know when I'm really old, when everyone's looking forward to the Hyundai more than the VTEC, the VTEC of the Honda, you know, all because of their recent success in World Touring Car, etc., and their exploits at the Nordschleife and the VLN. But yeah, it was a bit weird when everyone's, I can't wait for the Hyundai, and it's like, you do know that Honda's got a VTEC in it, right? But, you know, strange old world. Maybe 10 years ago, everyone would have been buzzing for it, you know. But times change. Unlike the order at the moment, which is still in favour of John Brown, leading from Callum Garden, and Nick Clibbins in third. There we go. The Tango machine familiar to viewers of Tanso Racing Group TCR Championship last season. And it's still looking... maybe this is it. Maybe Callum's having a bit of a problem getting past this Audi. And the performance.
Yes, he could be, but then I think again, like now as they enter the long straight, he's definitely got the excess speed, and he's just pushing John along.
Suddenly a bit of bump drafting, suddenly a bit of bump drafting. It's not really helping him out when Nick Clibbins behind, mind you. I think maybe he's just going to do a last lap lunge, maybe. Yeah,
could be, I suppose, wise, just to keep himself fresh and keep himself active over this first 20-minute race.
And we missed in the fight for P9 because it looks like Dan Mould and Ryan Dudley are having a little tete-a-tete. And looks like there's a 3-car bundle behind between Fraser and Daniel Wareham now. So I think maybe attacking Dan's cost Ryan a little bit of momentum. That's dropped him back into this pack now. And Fraser's just going to line himself up. Well, there's a little bit of speed difference there. And a little bit of a slide from Daniel Wareham. He saves it with the throttle going into the left-hander. Fraser backs out, probably quite wise. And that group that came together, Rob, is dissipated. So that's that for a couple of laps, I should think.
Yep, it's like I said, definitely closest cars on track at the top 6. So they've now really only got a couple of seconds splitting them.
Now we missed the fall of Nick Kent, who's dropped to the back. And a lap down, actually. So I think, has he popped into the pits, or has he had a crash? Did we miss that?
Yep, Nick.
Elliot James had a crash as well. Elliot James has come to the pits.
We can just go back now and have a look at Nick when he went off track.
Yeah, so a little bit of Hyundai on Hyundai action between Nick and Elliot, and I think that would have, there's a wheel hanging off of Nick's car, so that's pretty terminal. But good news is there are unlimited fast repairs in this championship. They do like to get people back out on track again. Perhaps this is the time to talk about Carl Lukman, because I've not seen Carl Lukman in a Friday Night TCR Championship in a few seasons. And he was a mainstay of the old SRL Championship, which is pretty much the forerunner to this. It's great to see Carl back, because he's a little feisty racer on his day. And his day is doing pretty good for the moment, because he's up in the 6th position, +2 from his qualification of 8th. And it's good to see Mr. Lukman back.
Yeah, it's quite a few returning faces and a couple of new faces as well. So it's good to have a turnout of a 20-car field as well.
Right, I'm just trying to see if there's anyone who's quite close to the incident limit at the moment. I don't think so. I think Nick Clibbins has got 8 incident moments. There's 17 incident points on the table today, should you want to use a lot of off-tracks. I don't think we've got anyone near it, which is quite good. It shows you how little contact there's been throughout the race, apart from the odd crash, which has left drivers a lap down, of which there are only 3 with Stevenson, Kent, James and Van Herven, who are currently off the lead lap. But looking at Mr. Lukman now, and his last lap was a 34.72, which was just a little bit slower than Derek Crowther's ahead with a 34.18, so they're pushing away slightly. The gap at the front is still line astern, with Reed Garden pushing John Brown along, and this is formation flying, Rob.
Yeah, Nick's pushing Cal, and Cal's pushing John. So yeah, it's I think they might try and get away from Craig in the car behind, because the gap is slightly opened up a little bit there for him. But we can see, looking on the track map on the stream, the top 6 are well and truly away from Dan, who's now in 7th position.
And he's about 7 or so seconds off this one, so he may struggle to catch up with this slot unless they really start fighting, because I think if the first 2 start fighting, everyone's going to start fighting. And when everyone starts fighting, we might see some TCR damage.
That's right.
I think.
Dan, he's about 9.5 seconds behind John at the moment now. But his last lap was over a second quicker. So he's definitely got the pace, but I don't think he'll have the time to catch them up.
Well, he's just held off the apex there by, I think it was either Elliot or Nick, I think, just going down paddock. So I think if we go back to the front, again, we should see the train. One of the returning cars is it's Craig Walters just gets past Derek Crowther, or sorry, that's Nick Clibbins. He's trying to fight for third position now. Maybe it's a bit too early to start slowing yourself off the back of the leaders, Craig, but they're just waggling around as a kink up the Hawthorn always gets people. But yeah, that was a bit dicey there from Craig. Just didn't know where he was on the circuit, didn't know where the other guys were. But he's recovered. I don't think there's too much damage to the cars around him. And as I said, he's one of the guys who's retained the Audi and retained the paint job from last season.
He's going to say, as he's changed his number though this season. He was number 69 last year, but this year...
And it's a bit of a slide on the right-hander, just outside, will touch the grass. I'm afraid we saw that coming, but that looks like heavy damage on Craig Walters' machine, and that looks like his race one out, I think, which is a bit of a shame because he was looking up to be a good finale for him, and that's just spread out the pack a little bit. Callum Garden still pushing John Brown. I don't know if John's paid him money for this. But maybe. I think John did have a win last season, but if he, I wonder if Callum's going to give him a win this season, or if they're going to be fun like cats and dogs in a few laps' time. That's spread out our top 6. So Crowther and Lukman have dropped out, which is a shame. We've still got very much on like Donkey Kong for the podium, but we can see it does snap fairly quick.
That's right, we've got Carl's now, he's still just behind Dan. We've got Fraser is all over the back of Al Brown as well at the moment. So that could be another position he could gain there, so go from 10th to 9th.
And we can see Daniel Wareham just take over the curbs there, the exit of Graham Hill. There is a bit of a curb that drops off. And we can see Fraser just giving a little bit of a love tap to the Hyundai of Dudley, and that's just allowed the Hyundai of Mark Brown, wasn't he, returning to the championship just to take a little look up the outside. Takes a brave man with fantastic ability to pass around these sets of corners. Mr. Brown doesn't decide to take it, which is a shame. But this is a nice little battle here, a little 5 or 6 way between these guys. And all new content. A couple of Hondas, a couple of Hyundais. I'm trying to remember which livery Al Brown ran with last season. So I thought he ran with a team.
My mind has gone completely blank, to be fair.
Well, you do ask a lot from you, Miss Jackson. All broadcasting, doing all the buttons and doing all the voice as well.
Yeah,
you can see Daniel Wareham. He's only got one job on at the moment, and that's to try and pass Ryan Dudley for 7th position. Who's the biggest gainer? +9, that is Ryan Dudley, actually. So that's a fantastic effort for him in the blue and white machine. And what's that on the side, it says? Is that LA Honda World?
The blue and white, yeah, that's one of the generic liveries that you get with the new Honda TCR. I think it was that dealership which supplied iRacing with the car to be scanned.
Oh, aye. And of course, these are factory cars. The TCRs, they are off the shelf, as off the shelf as a race car can be, which makes them very popular throughout the world. And you can just see Daniel Wareham just going for the lead now into 30s. Gets the inside line, gets quite a good line in there as well, and it looks like he's going to get it closed off. I think it's a bit polite to leave the exit there. He could have closed the door, but that's a fantastic pass from Daniel. But unfortunately now he's going to have to defend quite heavily into Hawthorne Bend. Looks like Dudley yields, and Wareham's got the position for now. But looking behind Wareham, we've got Al Brown, who's defending from Fraser Garrity, and we're standing in a bit of a train now, a bit of a battle. This might be the last minute. We've got a couple of minutes left, I think, maybe about a lap or so. And this is nice and hot and up.
Yeah, the leader, John, now is just crossing the line and actually getting the white flag, as we see.
So, the white flag, Heat 1 of the first round of Tanso Season 3 Tanso TCR Championship. We can see John Brown in the lead in the Tango machine. Cal Reed Garden in the Hyundai behind, and then that's followed by the Hyundai of Nick Clibbins in the Simtech Racing machine. And there's a bit of defending, bit of weaving going on now from Mr. Brown to keep Reed Garden at bay. And that's been a pretty good tactic because Reed Garden is a bit feisty and a bit handy around this circuit. As they go into C's, tight line from John Brown on exit, a bit of a dab on the brake to rotate the car. And he's just trying to get in the way, just trying to get a slow run out the park on the exit just to keep Cal behind him. But Cal, look at the toe as we go down into Hawthorne now. He's not alongside yet. He's not going to look yet. He might save it for a couple of corners. And comes a late apex to Hawthorne. Use the runoff on the left. A little bit of a tighter line from John Brown. Just trying to keep behind. Cut the curb. Take the curb on exit to rotate the car a little bit. And it's all the same corner, just a little bit tighter each time. So over the crest. Bit more curb, and now up to left-hand side. Will Garden look to send it? Nope, he backs himself off, tries to get a later run out of the corner, and now he's going to try and get alongside John Brown. Out of the penultimate corner, into clearways for the last time in round number 1, and he's just struggling a little bit to get past. And it's a very nicely driven from John Brown to get a tight line, but Reed Garden goes low. A little bit of late swerve from Brown. Nick Clibbins is nothing for him, so 3 wide over the line. And it was how it started the final lap. And as a ceremony, they start in Bennett. So that's a fantastic first 3. And we've seen Crowther finish 4th, Lukman 5th in his return, Mulder 6th, and Daniel Wareham in the yellow Honda. He's crossed on the line in 7th. Followed closely by Dudley, Brown, and a light flashing from Fraser Garrity. And Mark Brown with the brings his return into 11th position. Philip Amana, the Tanso machine, 12th. 13th, Stuart Gibbons. 14th is David Smith, and 15th is Craig Waters, maybe a lap down. We didn't mention David Smith and the little yellow SRL machine. A very familiar paint job from last season. But these are the guys that are a lap down. Look at Craig Waters, Neil Stevenson, Nick Kent, Elliot James, JT Johnson, and Xander Van Hoeg didn't finish. But this is heavily damaged from pretty much a self-caused incident from Craig. Very unfortunate late on in the race because it was looking like he was having a cracking end to that race.
And it's just the last 2 cars to cross the finish line are actually our championship 1-2 last year. So we've got Craig just finishing his lap there, and then Neil, who had a terrible start, he's managed to get back out on track and then come over the line, finishing 16th position.
And that's 16th for Mr. Stevenson. He's the only Ignium car on the grid today, which is rare because they're normally quite plentiful around here. So that's the end of race number 1. Bit of a hectic start. We had a bit of a we had some negotiations involving buttons and swearing with YouTube to try and get the stream up. So sorry about the rush start, chaps. Hopefully we'll be better in 5 minutes time, which we'll see a reverse grid, or the first 12 cars will be reversed, and we'll take you through the grid order towards the start of that race. But we're just going to have a little bit of a break at the moment, just to talk to YouTube a little bit more maybe, and we'll see you back in a few minutes.
Yep.
Welcome back, viewers. Just coming to the end of the warm-up for between Heat 1 and Heat 2 of Tanso TCR Championship. And just looking at the car of Clemens, who we saw in the Excite car finish a fantastic third position in Heat number 1, behind Callum Garden, who pretty much pushed John Brown to the majority of that win with a very dogged determination from John the last lap to defend first position and take his first win of the season, or the first win of the season for anyone. So we're going to look to grid up now. And if we just look to see who started on the grid, we've got a few guys just appearing on the grid already. So let's pop down to the grid to take a look at them. We did have a bit of drama, actually. Dan Mould disconnected from the server earlier and had to connect back in, which is a shame. So he starts in 9th position. So we can see the grid. All to the left are the Insignia cars, and we can see, actually, that there's one car with the yellow spoiler on. I think that is Dan. That's how they differentiate between them. But on pole position for race number 2 is the Tanso machine of Philip McMahon, Mark Brown. The first 12 are reversed. All cars are on grid.
So we should be waiting any second now for the lights to come on.
And we're green now. We can see they all drift slowly down the hill, which is very much a feature of Brands Hatch. But into Paddock Hill they go. Philip McMahon, bit of a gap in the lead because we saw Mark Brown have to defend against his teammate Fraser Geraghty. There's an Insignia 2 and 3 and 4 position. Nick Clibbins immediately up to 6th position, up 6 positions to 4th. Ryan Dudley, sorry, just taking that in 4th position now. Dan Mole's up to 6th. I saw a bit of smoke behind, but I didn't see a car go off. I think there's an Insignia car just driving around the inside of the circuit there on Druids. Can't recall which one that is. But down into Graham Hill they go. And I think Clibbins just got a bit of a rubbish run out of that corner in the Excite machine. He's around the outside of Dan Mould, who's immediately up into 5th position. At the expense of Clibbins, who looks like he's gone round, just touched the grass on exit, I think, maybe, just spun. I don't think there was any contact, Mr. Jackson.
I don't know, but we can just quickly go back and have a look.
Yep, so we'll quickly take a read about that. There isn't a Stevenson car on circuit, so I think he just ran a little bit of wide going to 30s, and yeah, once you're off, you really can't get that turn around. And Clibbins' early accident for himself, he joins Neil Stevenson at the back of the grid. If we go back to the start, though.
Sorry, I'm just going back to where Neil actually goes off the grass himself.
And a bit of contact with the 12 machine there.
Yep, so I think, again, that was just Neil, unfortunately, putting the wheels on the grass and then causing Nick Kent some issues as well.
That's a bit of a shame for Nick. We're just having a little back to the start now because Mark Brown, who on his day can be very quick in these little TCR machines, he's up behind Philip McMahon, who we know in the Audi is very strong in a straight line. And I saw some YouTube comments from Zando, who I think had some problems in the first race. So he just seen, actually, Philip McMahon just lose his brake into Paddock Hill and he slid wide. And that's gifted the position to Mark Brown. And down the order Philip goes. So, new order of things. Mark Brown first position, 2nd Fraser Geraghty, 3rd Ryan Dudley. Up to 4th, +3 is Dan Mould, and shadowed, +6 Callum McGarden. And we can see Callum actually showing up to... This is a battle we want to see all season, where Mould is on the outside, McGarden is on the inside. And this is through 30s and close, and the job looks to be done.
I think Callum and Dan, they were going for the most last to first challenges, I think, last year, both of them two.
But I think they got burned a couple of times because it is quite hard for them to do it at the moment, especially with these 3 cars now. So Craig Walder's behind. Looks like he's having to fight off the attentions of Al Brown. And Reed Garden now is looking up the outside and then going to be the inside of Ryan Dudley. He's the cork in the bottom at the moment. He's got 2 fast cars behind him. And also Carl Lukman, who's not too shabby. And we're going to have to look at a bit of a pressure now. Maximum pressure being applied from Callum Garden all over the rear bumper of Dudley. He's slowed down. Did he get a slowdown? What happened to Mr. Garson there?
He didn't seem to go on... didn't seem like he went off track. There's nothing saying on the event timing here. So, unless he's got technical issues on his end, I don't know on that one.
A bit of a pedal reboot maybe. He's only dropped down as far as 6, so it's a bit of a hard corner to get a slowdown on that left-hander. And we see another car off in the background. I think that's Al Brown off into the kitty litter.
No, Elliot James.
Elliot James, so sorry about that.
Yep.
So we can just see again, just misses the initial braking zone. Car has a little bit of wobble, releases the brakes, off he goes. He's going to drop a few positions now. It's all changed at the top. It looks like the Brown and Garrity battle is on. We saw Garrity. Wow, he just missed out the right time. So that's the same again as Mr. Clibbins, but the wrong way around. Instead of just understeering off the track, the rear catches momentum. The rear outside tyres all loaded up. Just spins round. Doesn't throttle save it in time. That's taken his first position all the way down to 13th position. And again, new leader, Fraser Garrity. Second position, Ryan Dudley, getting shown up the inside by Dan Mould, and we are returning to what we saw last season in the Insignia 1-2 between Garrity and Mould. And Lukman is looking up the inside. Just a bit of a better line, doesn't yield out of it enough. Ryan Dudley and just has a little bit of a tap on the doors, and he's going off, dropped down to 5th. It's all action, Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, that's right. Ryan he got up to 2nd position, so he was up 3 places, but unfortunately now back down to where we started in 5th position. Now he's just got Craig Walters to deal with. He'll be right up his back end in a couple of corners' time.
Sometimes in a reverse grid, you really need to choose your battles, and someone who hasn't chosen them is Al Brown. So it looks like he pitted under his own steam that last lap, and looks like he's down in 14th position now. So the Hyundai might have called it a night, and we didn't see if he had any off tracks. I don't think he did. Back to 5th position now. Ryan Dudley is going to be caught by Craig Walters unless he puts his foot to the floor. We're going to see the battle. We're going to see the difference in speed now between the Honda machine, the LA Honda World, and the Audi machine of the SRL liveried Craig Walters. We did just see ahead that Reed Garden just getting his nose on with Carl Lukman. I think that's a done deal before we get down to the Hawthorne. But yeah, there we go. Carl's not going to have an answer just yet. So we can see the Insignia 1-2. Looks like Mould maybe he's looking in the mirrors now. He sees Callum Reed Garden just getting past the Lukman Honda. And I think he's going to really want to get past Fraser pretty quick, because within a couple of corners, Reed Garden's momentum around the back of the circuit has put him right up behind Dan Mould.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Dan Mould's really got to think about covering the clearways now, because you don't want Callum to come down inside. At the same time, is this going to be a fight, or is this going to multi-21?
It looks like Callum May's he had a good line there going through clearways, and he's tucked up right now behind Fraser. So will Fraser ease off to help Dan or not? Which, bad luck to it, no, he doesn't. No,
it looks like these Hondas are a little bit twitchy on the rotation on entry. It looks like Dan can box them in here. So this is an Insignia box forcing Gallery Garden round the outside. Bit of a door touch maybe. There is runoff around the outside of Druids, and that will set him up for Graham Hill. So 2 into Graham Hill. There's a bit of runoff on the exit of Graham Hill as well. That keeps the momentum of Dan Mould up, and in the background there you can see Craig Waters, who really wants to get this done. He really wants to join this fight, and the fight is still pretty much on between Reed Garden and Dan Mould. That might be done. Let's see what the reverse order is like when they go down Hawthorne Hill between these guys. I think actually if we go on board with Carl Lukman, we're going to see a fantastic fight.
Yeah, the Honda as well, it's not the best car going over curbs. So luckily here the curbs are quite flat, but if there's a slight little bit of a rise in the curb, the Honda becomes like a little pogo stick on the rear end.
Where normally you would set a bit of rebound, a bit of stiffening, he's quite hoppy, so probably a bit over grippy. You can see Callum goes a little bit wide there, but no changes at the minute. But this is a fantastic effort from Fraser to keep these guys behind. They are boxing quite clever at the moment. This isn't like they're all sat on each other's team voice as well. They are all sat in the same channel, on the same Discord. About 20 people, and it'll be carnage in there. There'll be some proper banter flying around. So this will be probably quite good listening to, I should think.
I think we'll need a bleep machine now as well for the stream.
Maybe a bit of a bit of a translation as well from northern to southern. Maybe we can see that they are doing quite is fair. They cover once, bit of a swerving. That's just to pick their line in the right time. And Mold just can't find his way around the Hyundai of Mr. Callum Regarden, as they go up the hill again outside of Surtees for what's the 6th time for them. Craig Walters is past Ryan Dudley. We did miss that, but we saw it quite a lot on the previous couple of laps, and there's just a little bit of a gap forming between them now. 0.27 around this circuit can seem miles away on camera, but it really, as you saw Callum, as we saw with Regarden catching Dan Mould after he passed Dudley, really is sometimes just a case of momentum. And now we can see the game of chess is on again between the Insignia cars and Callum Regarden, and Mould is back past.
I think going around the corner there, that last right-hander, Dan had the momentum, where Callum unfortunately lost that little bit, which then opened up the door for Carl to put his nose there, but not quite get past him fully into 3rd position.
And a bit of a switcheroony there from Carl Lukman going into clearways, looked to get the run out, just didn't gather momentum. And Dudley just trying to keep in the toe of Walters behind as they go into paddock again. Bit of a cut there. That's a brave entry from Ryan, because that can go a bit south if you bottom your car out.
If we just
we've not looked backwards for a while. Yes, we've not seen Zandy yet due to his early exit in the last race. But yeah, that's a very pink liveried Honda. I'm not sure if that picture on the side's PG.
And he's being caught now by Philip McMahon behind him. He was lapping, he lapped a good 2 seconds quicker there, or 1.5 seconds. So I should imagine he'll close up the gap and challenge for that position.
Yep, so Philip obviously started pole, had a bit of a slide, bit of an off-track excursion, slipped all the way back down. He's recovering. He's currently in 9th position. Plus 12 actually from Xander. He's had a cracking race so far. We're missing battles at the front, I think, because I can see Dan Mould and Fraser Garrity. They're all changing around, and Fraser's now dropped down in 2nd position, a bit wide, holds it on the throttle and still manages to get track position, and that's going to hold up Callum Regarden a little bit, backs him up, bit of a tap on the bumper. Carl Lukman's properly in the train now, and they will look to go through clearways. We'll see how they do that. Lukman's going to look for the undercut again, just can't quite get close enough. Is he going to 43 wide? No.
I was going to say, all this battling as well, it's allowed Dan now to pull out a good 2.7 gap over Fraser and 2.5 seconds over Cal.
So fantastic effort there from Fraser Garrity, who's had a couple more laps at the head of the field. We saw a few times last season. We've got a big old pack now, haven't we, between all the way from 6th to 3rd. So that's going to be quite good, I think, for the next few laps. Just wanted to take a look. We don't have to look back further down the grid, but we can see that we have some quite significant gaps there. I think JT Johnson, Stuart Gibbons. I don't think we saw. Did we see what happened to Stuart Gibbons at the start of the race? Was that one of the Hyundais we saw go off?
I didn't see that, to be honest. I'm just looking back at the event history.
And we saw Nick Kent go off, didn't we? We saw the Hyundai of Nick Kent and Clibbins. We saw the early accident Clibbins.
Yep,
David Smith is currently circulating in 14th position.
I've found where Stuart went off track, so we can jump back and have a look at that one now.
Yep. Yes, he's the one that got involved in the Neil Stevenson crash. Maybe.
Yeah,
oh no, he was the 47. Yeah, so he was the 47 we saw facing the wrong way, I think.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what happened to him.
It looked like there, as Neil came across the back end of him, he just tapped his back wing on his way over to Nick Kent. So unless that maybe destabilised something or damaged a little bit of suspension, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, these cars don't like accumulative hits on the suspension, do they? So, yeah, that's unfortunate for him. Right, so we're back to the battle for 5th now between Craig Waters and Carl Lukman. This is a battle for the ages, pretty much, because these guys have been fighting since the very start of SRL, really, in these little TCR cars. So it's good to see these guys getting reacquainted again as they go in behind Fraser Garrity, who currently in 3rd position. So this is a battle for the podium, ultimately, and then John Brown behind, plus 5 positions. The winner of the first heat tonight. We'll be looking to cotton on to these little these little fight, and it looks like Dan Mould and Callum Garden has closed up a little bit. So Callum Garden has finished one season, started another with a blisteringly different set of pace. I think he's got a little bit quicker in the last few weeks.
It's and of course the two leaders now are catching up to. Sorry, my mind's just gone blank. Catching up to Elliot James, who stayed out of the way of them there, so he could get past easily.
I think we've missed Fraser Garrity jumped to the pits, so I think we've missed an off track from Fraser. I think there's been a bit of a drama in third position, so we might have to see if we can find a replay of that. As we see Dan Mould under a little bit of pressure now from Callum Garden, and this might determine the outcome of the race, I feel, as they've got another 6 minutes left. Have we found what happened to...
I've got, I can see where it says Fraser came, he went off track, so we'll just watch these two now as they enter turn number 1. But Callum's just a bit further back now from Dan, so does he get the run out coming up the hill?
In the Drew's tight line from Dan Mould, should be barking it on the apex, and Callum Garden just a little bit wider on the exit now, trying to line himself. He's all over the back of Dan Mould like powerful moss. So they go out of Graham Hill, and back straight behind the pits.
So while they just make their way around this bend, we'll then go back and have a look as to why Fraser went off and teleported back to the pits.
Okay, so Fraser Garrity we saw in third position. That is Carl Lukman behind him. Looks, that's very unfortunate. Lukman just caught a wheel on the grass, and that just sent Mr. Garrity off. That's a bit of a shame. Still no change of position at the start at the front, which is fortunate. Don't like to miss that sort of stuff. But yeah, we now got a dissipated battle between the podium, third position and fourth Craig Walters, who we saw do a DNF in race number 1. So just having a little look on the comments. Martin Lee looks like he's a fan. Ryan, so we see another battle for the lead. Looks like Callum Garton's passed on the outside of the back of the circuit, and that's a clean pass to position Dan Mould. And it looks like the Hyundai is in a very strong position to gap Dan now, because he looks extremely quick around the circuit today. And yes, Martin, you're absolutely right. The Hyundais do use a bucket of rear brake bias, much like the Audis normally do, actually. I'm not really seeing the glow on the Hondas at the minute. Looks like Dan might have dropped off the pace a little bit, because that's a big old gap in a couple of corners.
That's right. I wonder if I know Dan suffered with the last couple of races of last season with hardware issues, so I think he was getting a new wheel or a new wheelbase. So I wonder if he's actually managed to get a new one, or if he's still using the old unit, which was I think actually under braking the wheel was coming loose from the base unit.
Yes, actually the shaft, no innuendo, yes, was indeed coming loose. That's rare. Joys of Fanatec, I should imagine, and very unfortunate as well. So he was absolutely plagued with hardware problems in the last season, and that did damage his championship quite a bit, because he was on a bit of a streak before he went a little bit south. So talking about a streak, Craig Walters, who of course won last season's championship, he's currently in a three-way fight for third position, with Lukman ahead, Brown behind. I think Fraser might have called it a day, I think. But there's a bit of a gap between Brown and Dudley, who we saw involved earlier. Who haven't we spoken about today? We've spoken about Daniel Wareham quite a lot in the yellow car. We haven't seen David Smith, actually. I think he's in no man's land a little bit. 3 seconds behind Derek Crowther, who's had a bit of a torrid second race. There we go, the yellow Audi. Another guy who hasn't changed the choice car. He's out in his yellow. That's one of my favourite colours, Mr. Met.
It's a good colour combination there, isn't there?
Yeah, and he's just a bit of a leisurely couple of laps around. We can see Nick Kent behind, recovering. I think if we go forward to... What other fights have we got on at the moment? Mr. McMahon, actually.
He's Philip. He's half a second in front of Xander. So, if Xander plays his cards right and he stays in the draft, he could, maybe pressure Philip into a small mistake of some description. And
the peak Honda of Xander, we can see the Tanso machine of Philip ahead. Yeah, so Last lap, well, I think that's just dropped off a little bit because Xander's completely missed, and that's such a horrible bump on the AstroTurf. He's just absolutely done him a kipper. I think I don't think he enjoyed the rear springs in the first race. I think he's enjoying them a lot less in the second because that little bit of a bunny hop cost him a decent finish, I think. But we can see actually John Brown's gone from 4th to an attempted 3rd position with Carl Lukman and Craig Walters, and this is getting a little bit feisty, a bit of an Audi sandwich going on.
Yeah, well, we've got Craig Walters is actually up 12 positions. He's the biggest gainer of the race so far. So he'll be happy with getting into the podium position.
And 6 of those were off the start, so he had a fantastic start. We might have to take a look at the start at the end of the race, actually, just to see how he did it. But that's a fantastic job from Craig. So he finishes his 12th lap and what is the start of the last lap in the podium position. Can he hold off the guys behind? But if we go to the start, to the top of the grid very quickly, we can see a gap between Callum Reed-Garton and Dan Mould. He's about a corner and a bit, I think. That's quite extensive. So this is a dominating appearance from Callum. But I think now, if we go back to the 3rd position of Craig Walters, we can see it getting a little bit spicy as they go around the back of the pits into Surtees. Tight line from Craig, just to try and hold Carl Lukman up a little bit. And that's going to give a run to John Brown, who has to check his line on exit. And he's now thinking about getting alongside Lukman, who's gone quite defensive. But if we go back to Callum Reed-Garton again, it's saying race over for me, but it's not a race over.
No, it's we've just gone over the 20-minute time session now, so as he makes his way around these final few bends, he'll come across the line to take the checkered flag.
So then, outer Sterlings along the straights, just behind the Tanso machine. I think that's a JT Johnson. Into Clark Curve now for the last time of heat number 2. Feature race in season 3, round number 1. The victory goes to Callum Reed-Garton in the Hyundai, followed closely by a light flashing of Dan Mould. He'll be very happy with the 2nd position. Strong early points on the board. Craig Walters exceptionally happy ahead of Carl Lukman returning to the series, and John Brown in 5th. And then we see Philip Amon crossing the line in 7th position, followed by the Hyundai of Mark Brown, I think. And I think we're just waiting for Xander and the rest of the guys to cross the line.
Yeah, Xander's just crossed the line there now. So we've got Daniel, who's coming around the final bend now to take the checkered. And I think Daniel's got the best team name so far. His team matrix is Yorkshire Pudding.
That's the northern thing. Actually, no clue for me. That's okay, so Daniel crosses the line, 11th position, followed by Eric Crowther, who many of the paints here today are of the benefit of his pen. And Al Brown crosses the line in 12th position, 13th, who we saw him briefly in the stream. David Smith in the yellow and blue Audi. And then bringing up is Nick Kent. We saw have an unfortunate early crash. And that's the 12th, 14th position for him. And we can see JT Johnson in 18th, I think. We're getting a little bit muddled with people being a lap down.
It's according to mine, he's finished 17th in the race.
So that's +2 for JT. That's a fantastic finish. I think that's the last of the finishers at the moment because there's some seen a bit more carnage going round, and yeah, we see some retirees as well. So what we'll do is we'll let Mr. Jackson take you through the final order.
So just hang on, just trying to clear everything up here and show the grid. So there we go. Yeah, we've got Callum Reed-Garton, who finished in 1st position. Dan Mould finished in 2nd. Craig Walters in 3rd, followed by Carl Lukman in 4th. John Brown was 5th. Ryan Dudley 6th. Philip McMahon 7th. Mark Brown with an E in 8th. Xander in 9th. Daniel Wareham in 10th. And Derek Crowther in 11th. Al Brown in 12th. David Smith in 13th. Nick Kent 14th. 15th was Nick Clibbans, and then a lap down in 16th we had Fraser Garrity and JT Johnson in 17th, and Elliot James was 2 laps down in 18th position, and in 19th was Stuart Gibbons, and 20th was Neil Stevenson, who were both 13 laps down, so it looks like they unfortunately didn't really race that much.
So I think I mentioned, I don't know if our replay goes back far enough, but I think I mentioned about trying to find Craig Walters' starts, sitting on board and seeing how he did it, because we saw him go +6 on the first couple of corners, I think. There's, I've just seen Dan Mould trying into the pits, which isn't really a done thing. So look at that at the back. So he gets past Gibbons pretty much immediately, and there's a big pack on board, and he might just, pick his way through as these guys kind of concertina into each other. So we see Wareham just touches John Brown. John Brown, fantastic save on the throttle there. Wareham has a little bit of a blink. That's not at all scary. And we can see Carl Lukman in the old Incal car in front. He's just biding his time, make sure he gets a decent exit there from Daniel Wareham in the yellow car. And I think maybe he picks up a few more positions, because in Surtees there was a bit of a battle. We see Lukman have a little bit of a tap. We've seen Al Brown actually, and that might be why he had a bit of a duff couple of corners, because he's just trying to turn the wheel there. So I think Al Brown's actually got a bit of damage. We can see a few more cars off here. Yeah, so this is why he had a fantastic start. He just patiently picked his way through all of the accidents, and that's a fantastic start of the race by Craig Walters.
And that's it. If you keep calm and smooth on the first lap, you're almost guaranteed to gain a couple of positions, aren't you, with the close nature of the TCR racing. And as we see Daniel there go off, and that's another position gained on lap 1 for Craig.
That's the kind of driving that makes champions. It's not all about all-out pace, although Craig does have quite a bit of that. It's about just picking and choosing your way through, not getting involved in the fights. That's a fantastic... Well, he's got my drive of the day for race number 2, I think. Race number 1, I think, will probably go to John Brown for his fantastic win. Fantastic victory, and even though he was assisted quite a bit by Callum Garden, actually. So, yeah, who's your drive of the day, Mr. Jackson?
I think I'll have to agree with you on that one, to be honest. Because race 1 being handled by Callum and Dan, it's a lot of pressure put on people. And then, of course, that lap there from Craig and gaining 12 positions for the whole race. It's you can't go wrong with that, really, can you?
No, as we see, that's a nice little slow motion there of Craig Walters' machine, just on the outside of Druids using a runoff. These are fantastic shots, and there you see all 3 TCRs in the same shot. Fantastic, right. I need to remind myself where the next race is. So I should probably explain what Tanso are doing this season. So typically, alternate Fridays, as we see a little bit of a contact there. I don't know why I'm commentating on replays. These are bits I missed in the race because I was looking everywhere else, especially the cars of the Insignia guys ahead and all the Garton machine, all that sort of stuff going on early doors. Tanso does entertain. It does deliver. So last season we delivered fortnightly races, TCRs. This season we were going to do an MX5 league, but the guys who race the TCR league said no, we want TCRs as well, and we're going to bring more people, which is what they've done. So it's going to alternate between TCRs and MX5s. We won't be broadcasting the MX5s, which is a shame because that's always guarantees fantastic racing. But a lot of these guys will be racing that as well. Some of them will be streaming, I should imagine. But the next race for the TCRs, if I move my mouse swiftly, find it quick enough. I should have prepared this earlier, Mr. Jackson, shouldn't I?
Yeah, sorry. So maybe me as well, but I'm just having a couple of issues with the stream at the moment now. Anyway,
it's Silverstone Legacy, 21st of January, around the same time again. I think the session started a little bit late today, so we'll be looking to get online around the 10:15, 10:20. So feel free to join us on T8 TV for Tanso TCR Championship. We better sign off now. So it's a goodbye from Rob Sutherland and myself and Mr. Jackson.
Yep, goodbye, and thanks for everyone for watching, and just a public apology again for the start, as like I said, we just couldn't quite agree with YouTube for some strange reason.